I'm Marisa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page.
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
It's going great. There was snow this morning. The wind was very still, so that the wet snow was hanging on the trees. It was amazing.
I knew you'd be happy.
I'm very, very happy.
It is very beautiful.
It is.
When before it gets dirty, like this time of year, it's just so nice to see. I agree. I love to see it on the trees in my backyard and on my deck.
Yep. And I arrive a little bit early, and there aren't as many people on the roads, and it was awesome this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very Christmassy.
Well, luckily,
how's that?
Luckily for you, we'll be getting even more snow.
Yes.
Today, at least the
Can't
day
wait.
that we're recording this. Who knows what's going to be on the day that this actually
Right.
goes live? But
well, I think when I was looking at the forecast, it's at least supposed to stay cool, so that's good.
Yeah.
You need snow at Christmas.
I know. So, this fits perfectly with the theme today. The holiday season is upon us, and your favorite holiday, Christmas, is just around the corner.
My all-time favorite holiday is right around the corner, and you never know what kind of surprises you might get on days like this.
Ah.
So
I
figured the Canadian Brass could come visit us a little bit as we started this one.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
No.
So it's not the Spice Girls, but...
Who knew there was a little bit of a DJ in you?
Exactly. Well, I was actually trying to find, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and I know I have it somewhere on my iPad, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, so this is a very unique podcast. My email was quite unique, and it was just about Christmas memories.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that they're just some of the best. Because I think people slow down a bit, and they reflect on some, the family and being kind to people. And so my thought was that, I shared a couple Christmas memories in my my blog post, and I've primed you a little bit to share some of yours, and I certainly have a few more.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'll share the ones, Marisa, that were in my blog post first.
Yeah.
So the first memory that I shared was actually a very unique one, and it wasn't mine. It was one that my grandmother shared with my dad. Now, my grandma was born in 1900, so it was always easy for us to know how old she was because she was born in 1900. But she's not 117, so she passed away many, many years ago. But when she was in her mid-teens, she was growing up in Europe, and during World War I, her family had a bakery, and they baked a lot of bread. And she talked about a Christmas Eve day when they loaded up with all the bread that they could bake and went out to the troop trains, the soldiers going off into battle, and just giving them fresh bread. And I just thought, what a nice thing. You're giving bread to people that can't pay you. You're not going to see. It's not like these are customers that are coming, but they just wanted to do something good and kind for people.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I recall, the memory that my dad shared with us was that there was a ceasefire, and I don't even know exactly where in Europe. My guess is it was somewhere in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, because that would have been where my grandmother was living at the time. But there was a ceasefire in the battle, and that night, for ceasefire for Christmas and Christmas Eve, and that night, and World War I was a lot of trench warfare, so there were trenches that people that were dug for the armies, and they would be hiding in these trenches. And all of a sudden on Christmas Eve, these enemies just start singing Christmas carols.
Wow.
And from what I remember from my dad telling me was that one by one, these guys started coming out of their trenches and just spent Christmas Eve with each other and exchanged as gifts whatever they had, a pocket knife, whatever it was they had in their pocket that they could give to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And it so impacted these two opposing armies that they literally had to move them to other battlefronts because they just couldn't fight people that they had spent a Christmas Eve with.
Isn't that amazing?
And I love that story because it just proves that, if we can connect with people, if we can spend time with people, we can solve any problem
Mm-hmm.
that's there. It's when we stay in our trenches and we become more entrenched, so to speak.
Yep.
Is when we meet the conflicts. And then the second memory that I shared was one of my favorite Christmas memories, and it happened, I'm guessing, about 15 years ago. My parents had moved. They used to live out on Otisco Lake, and they had moved into Westvale into a smaller house, and it seemed that for whatever reason, all my siblings came. My brother and sister who live, I think at the time they were both living in Virginia. They came up with their families. I don't believe any of my nieces and nephews were married yet, but we all end up at my parents' house for a dinner, and my dad has this idea: let's go Christmas caroling. Fine, and he had done this before. We had some great memories of Christmas caroling in Skinny Atlas, but on this one, we start. I said, "Where are we going to go?" He goes, "We're just going to go to some neighbors." Now, I added up. I think we had about 19 people.
Wow.
And Tim would have been the youngest, and so Tim would have been 6 at the time. But the rest of us were, all the nieces and nephews could sing, and it was we sing 4-part harmony. It was quite a choir that went walking through the neighborhood, and all of a sudden my dad says, "We're going to stop at so and so's house," and I'm like, "Dad, they're Muslim." "Yeah, I know. We're still going to stop at their house." "Well, do they know we're coming?" "No, just trust me. We're going to stop at their house." So we stopped at their house. My dad rings the doorbell, and as soon as they open the door, my dad says, "Start singing." So we started singing. These people, their faces just beamed. They were so excited. There were 3 generations. There were little kids, parents, grandparents. They all came out to listen to us sing. And as we walked away, the grandfather, just with a very hearty voice, said, "Merry Christmas."
Mm-hmm.
As we walked away. And I love that. And the rate, it didn't matter that they didn't share our faith. They just rejoiced because we were rejoicing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had brought some of our Christmas joy to their door. And they really, truly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so I asked my dad once, I said, "Hey, how did you meet these people?" And he said, right after 9/11, I was hearing all of these reports in the news about, these Muslims in the Syracuse area that were actually afraid for their own safety. And apparently something had happened to one of the young ladies in this family when she was in a store. Somebody shouted at her or something. And my dad said, I decided that I was just going to go and bring a gift. He brought some fruit, some grapes to their house, and introduced himself and said, "I'm Bob. I live down the street, and just want you to know that I love you as my neighbor," type thing. And
mm-hmm.
that began this beautiful friendship again. And so here again, people coming together because they share something with each other. They share a common affection and a bond,
mm-hmm.
and they want to share joy. And that really, to me, is like one of the most precious Christmas memories.
Yep, that's great.
How about you?
I would have to say that a lot of my Christmas memories revolve around like food and gatherings and things like that.
Oh, food, always, yes.
Yeah. I come from a large Italian family on both sides. And so like our Christmas Eves are always loud and full of food and full of fun. I think a lot of my favorite memories come from just all the enjoyment with my cousins. I'm the 4th cousin on that side out of 12. So I got to see the innocent, joyous side of Christmas through their eyes for a really long time, which was really special. And each year we'd go to my grandmother's house and take a picture on. She's got this one couch, it's like the longest couch that she has in her house, and we'd find a way to get all of the grandchildren on the couch. And it's been fun to see how the picture changes over time with the addition of spouses and now great-grandchildren. So every year I feel like it's getting more and more crowded in a good way. And it's funny because sometimes, like, some of the cousins will have, like, oh, well, Sophia sits on my lap every year, so she has to sit here. And I always sit next to this person. It's tradition. And so a lot of fun traditions like that.
Good.
That, that are always really special this time of year. And
so what are some special, meals or food or, I'm a food guy, so.
We do this. I think we've come pretty close to doing the 7 fishes every year.
Okay.
In one way or another. But, I don't know too much about them because I don't really eat them. I have a special way of eating.
Sure.
But we do a lot of that. But last year it was really funny. I'd say last year was our most eclectic menu that we've ever had. My sister's vegan. I have some dietary restrictions. So does my dad. My sister-in-law can't have tree nuts. My grandma insists on doing all the traditional foods like the smell and so like all these other fish dishes that I don't even like cod balls or something. I don't even know.
Oh.
All the like true Italians listening right now are
okay.
probably mortified by my lack of knowledge. But it's funny because so we've got kind of that traditional side. And then last year we also had a kind of like a really cool salad bar similar to Core, like the restaurant Core in North Syracuse, where we had like quinoa and fresh greens and all kinds of toppings and lots of dressing options. And then we had chicken riggies because a lot of my cousins really like that. And I think we had to do a ham because my grandma traditionally likes to do a ham, but then I think we also had some beef and I think we even had like sausage to mix in with rice or the salad bar. There was a lot going on. But we always have plenty of dessert, which is always fun because my grandmother bakes and everyone's kind of she does a big tray and then everyone's got their favorite. So
sure.
My cousin Sammy, he likes the fudge nut squares, and then there's like the snowballs, or some people call them like Russian tea cakes, I think. There's like something that's lemony, something that's chocolate. There's those tri-colored Italian layered cookies. Some people, I don't know, they've got different names.
Like a marzipan in it or something.
Maybe,
something like that.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
My mom does cutout cookies and chocolate logs and so there's just a lot of food going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Our family, being from Europe, Christmas Eve was always a time when the family sat around and exchanged gifts. And I just thought about this one because this clearly, and you'll recall this because it happened the first year that I was here, but we were sitting around and we exchanged gifts. And what will happen is it's a Secret Santa type of thing. And And because I'm the oldest, I was last. And I remember I figured out by the end that my daughter-in-law, Abby, had me because everybody else had been given a gift. And so she brings me over this card. And it was a handmade card. And it was just beautiful. I still have it on my bookcase in my office at home. And I forgot exactly how the wording was. But, some of the best gifts you don't find under a tree, and in some cases, I'm going to paraphrase it now, you have to wait 9 months to receive. And that was the way she told the family that she and my son Jeremy were expecting their first child.
Yeah.
And so it was special. Just the whole house erupted, and I think everybody forgot what they got for Christmas that year because that was the way. It's that beautiful time of family. Now, we do a lot with food too, as I'm sure that's a surprise to no one. But our Christmas Eve is always hors d'oeuvres. And everybody brings their favorite hors d'oeuvres. And sometime, and I think I'm trying to think, is it Christmas Day? At one point, we're going to end up with having cheese fondues. So I had a friend of mine bring back a fondue pot from Switzerland for me once. Wow. So we'll do cheese fondue at least one of the days during that time between Christmas and New Year's. So it's just it's great. It's about people, and it's about and it, if you're a person of faith, of course, it's about the greatest gift that we could have received at Christmas, that being, a Savior that was born. It was interesting. I heard last week that we're all familiar with the Peanuts Christmas special that, with Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown wants to figure out, what is Christmas all about? And then Linus comes and he reads that story from Luke. And so if you're a person of faith, that's clearly what Christmas is all about. But and also the part about just sharing the experience with people, sharing joy with people and making sure that you go out of your way to make somebody else's life better. So those are just really special times. We also, this is going to air. We're recording this a week early, but so we'll do some caroling. Our church will do some caroling on Saturday. And one of the things I love there is we go to retirement centers.
That's great.
And I love how there's a retirement center down the street from our church, and we basically finish there, and we bring pizza in for the folks that live there. And it's just their faces. It's so exciting to see it, the joy that you can bring. Do you have any special hopes or memories you want to start cultivating with Isla?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year was her first Christmas, and that was a whirlwind. It was a lot of fun. I think she ended up sick Christmas Day, so that was a bummer. But this year is actually a little bit different for us. It's actually my first Christmas without my brother home. He and his wife are expecting a baby December 29th, so they aren't going to make it home from Manhattan this year to celebrate. So it's going to be all of our traditions got a little jumbled because normally my mom would host. She hosts Christmas Eve now that our family's gotten so large instead of going to my grandmother's house, and normally she hosts Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But just because we're all on baby watch, the traditions are getting a little mixed up this year. So this year I'm really looking forward to waking up in our own house on Christmas Day. I think every other year I've woken up at my parents' house. Even last year with Isla and with my husband, we spent the night Christmas Eve and woke up there. But I'm excited because Santa will come to our house and Isla will wake up in the morning and get to experience that under her own tree. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that tradition. I think that might be something that we continue moving forward just because I think it's such a special way to wake up in your own house. And then I think next year will be even more special because my brother and his wife will be able to make it for Christmas next year with their baby who will be like 1 year old. So it'll be fun to start new traditions between my parents' grandchildren instead of Isla being, the only grandchild.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So we will have 7 grandchildren. Well, little Levi's not going to be opening any presents, but the rest of them, 6 of them, opening presents at our house. So that should be quite an experience. And again, we do that on Christmas Eve. So, and then they go home and wake up in their own homes on Christmas Day. Well, that's awesome. And hey, I found something here. Believe it or not. How's that, huh?
Look at that. Awesome.
Wow, and it's even a good arrangement, but I have to be careful not to play too much of it or we'll have to pay rights.
Yeah.
So.
Hope no one blows us in.
Yeah, I hope not. But anyways, so next week we're going to talk about setting goals and planning. How do we determine what goals we should set for the new year? What are some tips for setting those goals so that you can be the most successful in achieving them? How's that?
That's great. That is great.
And also, let's see, what else is upcoming? So,
got our post-holiday party coming up.
That's right.
Yep, that's January 18th. So tickets are flying. So make sure you RSVP for that early. We'll be doing tours of our new space.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and on top of our new space, our building is actually getting a pretty big remodel of the lobby area. Pretty dramatic upgrade. So hopefully that's done in time as well.
Yeah, I hope so because it's it's a mess right now.
Yes, it is a little messy right now, but looking forward to that, and we'll also be having a food drive during that event.
Super.
Yep, so if you're planning on joining us on January 18th at our post-holiday party, please remember to bring some non-perishable goods if you have some to donate. We'll have a box that we'll be collecting for Peace Inc.
Great. And I'm here in Studio 7, and the room is full of presents.
Yeah, yep. So we are just finishing up our I guess our holiday giving initiative at MACNY this year.
Right.
Something new that we did, and we were able to be some little shopper elves for some folks over at the Chadwick residence. So
That's
really
awesome.
excited to deliver some holiday cheer to them tomorrow in preparation for Christmas.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. So I want to thank everyone for listening. Please remember to subscribe. Give us your feedback. Just tell us what you'd like, what you don't like, things that you'd like us to remember, or things you'd like us to talk about, and we'd be happy to do that. Yep. So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.